I am Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead, and welcome to episode 203, Writing When Sick. As you probably can tell by my voice, I am actually sick, so I thought this would be a great topic for a podcast because I had to figure out quite a bit of things to happen to make all the parts of writing life and scholarly life to move while I was out sick. So I've been sick for almost 2 weeks, just some kind of a cold, who knows, not COVID. And I know a lot of people have been asking. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing fine. But it was a really good time for an episode to just talk about some of what I would argue are imperfect choices that I didn't really want to make, but just by the very nature of being sick, I had to do it. So when I'm talking about being sick in this episode, I'm not talking about like chronic illness or anything like that. I'm just talking about when you get some kind of temporary illness and it just slows down or stops your work altogether. So one of the first things that had to go, which you probably noticed in last week's episode, was that we've made brand new content episodes for every single week of this podcast for over 2 years. Thanks to my podcast producer, Robin, who is wonderful and who helped me kind of think through what are we going to do when episode 202 came around and I had no voice to do it. So last week I had absolutely no voice. There was no way that I could make that episode. Now, when I am a little bit more on top of my game, I have a lot of episodes pre-recorded and I kind of batch them out. However, there's a lot of reasons why I don't like to do this. And I've talked about this in a podcast before, but just for anybody wondering, like, how far ahead do we make these episodes? One of the reasons I kind of like doing them with not too much lead time is I try to respond to something that's happening immediately. So for example, me being sick, of course, that's not affecting everybody, or I guess in a way it kind of did because everybody got a repackaged episode last week. But I just try to do things that are responsive to sort of the time that we're in as academics. So last week, when I had to figure out what were we going to do, Robin suggested using another episode and kind of repackaging it with a new message. And she really looked through our episodes to figure out which episodes have good content, which might be a good choice for this. And, I was initially resistant to the idea because I've made a new episode every single week. I hate to break the streak, but I had to do it. I had to do it. It was an, imperfect choice. And I think it worked out great. Like I listened to the episode. I was like, we have a lot of new listeners that come in that we, get here and there. So hopefully it was good to revisit an old one for people that have been with us for a long time. And honestly, the world's not going to end. So I just sort of had to accept that, hey, this time, that one was maybe a no-go, but, I'm back in it for this week. Also, other imperfect choices I had to make during the week. One would be the idea of what was I going to do about teaching and work. So one of my first class days, I moved everything online with just some out-of-class work because, again, no way to talk. I had to do it again, which I didn't want to do. I didn't want to cancel 2 days in a row, but I was, again, really, really sick. I was at no point where I could walk into a classroom or even do something synchronously online. And so one of the things I decided to do was to use my second day that I had to cancel class as a day to give students to catch up on work. So I actually didn't assign them anything new. I just said, all right, we're at the point. I know a lot of them are also sick because I see them first. Many of them are first year students. And so I said, I think, we all need a break. We're going to take today off, catch up on, any backlog of work that you have, get better. We'll all return Tuesday. So that was just a couple days ago. And it all worked out fine. I mean, it wasn't ideal. It did put me behind in my class, actually kind of a lot behind in one of the classes, but it's going to be fine. So I had to make, again, another imperfect choice to cut kind of a minor assignment because we don't have that many days of class left in the fall semester. Got one last choice that I want to talk about that was sort of a more imperfect one was that I am working on another book project on sabbaticals. So it's a project I'm excited about. Somebody asked me to work on it. It's something that I really want to do, but last week when I was sick, there was no writing that was happening. And it was partially because anytime I could sit down, I wanted to lay down and I just couldn't do it. And so unless you were up against a hard deadline that you're defending your dissertation in 3 days, or if you don't turn in your book manuscript in 3 days, you're going to lose your contract, or that grant that you've worked on for 6 months isn't going to get submitted. I mean, in those circumstances, sometimes you do have to push through and work if at all possible. But otherwise, sometimes being pushed back by a week is not terrible. It definitely pushed me later into writing into December than I'd want to, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. So hopefully these things just give you a few things, food for thought, that sometimes we just have to make those imperfect choices. And I don't think a lot of us talk about how we do that. So I thought that was good content for the episode this week. So happy writing, and I hope that helped. If you're also sick, get better. Happy writing.